Rain tapped against the windows that evening, like quiet warnings from the sky, but I was too lost in happiness to notice. I moved around the kitchen humming to myself, preparing Ian's favorite dinner, chicken karahi with extra coriander, just the way he liked it. Every spoon I stirred felt like stirring dreams. We had been together for 3 years. I believed love was something stable, something warm that never turned cold. I had no idea I was about to step into the darkest truth of my life. While walking down the hallway with 2 cups of chai, I heard voices from the living room. The door was slightly open, just enough for sound to slip through like a knife. My mother's voice was calm but sharp. "Ian Beta, you need a strong wife. Zara is too soft, too emotional. Hania, she's better for you." My breath froze. The tray in my hands trembled so violently that the cups clinked against each other. I leaned closer, hoping I misheard. But her next words shattered me like glass. "Zara breaks easily. Hania is confident, smart. She'll make a better partner." Every syllable carved itself into my heart. The worst part, Ian was silent, not surprised, not defensive, just listening, agreeing through his silence. I waited for him to defend me, to say he loved me, but the only sound I heard was my own heartbeat breaking inside my chest. When I finally pushed the door open, my mother smiled as if she hadn't just dismissed my worth. Ian looked up at me, eyes warm, as if he still loved me. I placed the tea in front of them, forcing my voice not to crack. "Chai," I whispered. He thanked me gently, and for a moment I wondered if my ears had lied. But deep inside, something had already cracked. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, while rain washed against the roof. I replayed their words over and over. Too soft, too weak, not good enough. I felt like I was drowning without water. I wanted to confront them, scream, demand an explanation, but I stayed silent. Silence hurts differently. It sits inside your chest like unspilled tears. The days that followed were quiet storms. My mother became distant, her eyes cold when they met mine. Ian's messages became shorter, replies delayed. The warmth that once felt like home now felt like a fading memory. Something precious was slipping out of my hands, and I was powerless to stop it. I didn't know then, but this betrayal was the beginning of my transformation, the moment my heart began to learn strength through breaking. The change didn't happen suddenly, it arrived quietly. Like winter, slipping in through a half-open window. Ian's voice, once warm like sunlight, now sounded distant, hurried, distracted. Where we once shared long messages filled with affection and future plans, our conversations became short, cold replies that felt like leftovers of a love already eaten. "Busy, maybe later. I'll see you when I can." Each message felt like another thread of us coming undone. I tried to ignore it at first, telling myself relationships have phases, storms that pass. But deep down, I already knew I was losing him. Not to fate, not to distance, but to my own mother's words and to my sister. Hania, the sparkle of my family, always praised for her beauty, confidence, charm. I never resented her until I saw her sitting next to Ian one afternoon, laughing like she already belonged to him. They were scrolling through wedding decor on her phone. My mother watched with pride warming her face, the same warmth she once gave me. When I entered, the room went still for a second like guilt had sucked the air out. Then they smiled, pretending everything was normal. My chest tightened. Slowly, the world around me began to treat them as a couple. Relatives whispered, neighbors smiled knowingly. My mother no longer asked me about my relationship. Instead, she complimented Hania and Ian together. One evening during dinner, she finally said it out loud. "Zara, they make a good match. You should understand. She asked me to understand losing everything I loved to clap for the people who stole my future. I stared at the food on my plate, unable to swallow the betrayal. The night before the announcement, I hoped Ian would come talk to me, apologize, explain, choose me. But instead, I saw him bring sweets for my family, smiling nervously as they discussed engagement dates. No one looked at me, not even once. During their engagement ceremony, I stood among laughing guests, dressed like a shadow. Hania wore pink with gold, glowing like a bride already. Ian placed the ring on her finger, and the cheers that followed felt like knives. He avoided my gaze, maybe out of guilt, maybe out of convenience. Tears stung my eyes, but I didn't let them fall. That was the night a new voice was born inside me, a voice that whispered, "You will not break, you will rise." And so, instead of collapsing, I began planning quietly. Not to destroy them, but to rebuild myself. I packed my bags, left before dawn, and chose a city where no one knew my heartbreak. Leaving was the first step toward becoming someone they would one day regret losing. The bus ride away from home felt like traveling through the pieces of my broken past. I looked out the window, watching landscapes blur into unfamiliar shapes, and in each reflection I saw the girl I used to be, gentle, trusting, easy to break. I didn't know exactly where I was heading, or what my life would become, but I knew one thing clearly. I would never allow myself to be anyone's second choice again. The new city greeted me with chaotic traffic, loud horns, and strangers rushing through life. It was overwhelming at first, like stepping into a storm without an umbrella, but storms don't scare you once you have already survived a hurricane. I rented a small basement room with cracked walls and a single window. At night, I cried into my pillow, but in the morning, I forced myself to stand. I found work at a cafe, wiping tables for long hours. My hands ached, my feet burned, but every coin I earned carried pride instead of pain. Days turned into months, and I started evening classes in interior design, something I had always loved, but never had the courage to pursue. My classmates saw only a determined woman, but they never knew about the bruises inside me that fueled that determination. Slowly, life began to shape differently. I learned to say no. I learned that love is a part of life, not the purpose of it. I learned that strength grows quietly, like a seed that pushes through soil in darkness before reaching the sun. After 2 years of work, study, sleepless nights, and relentless hope, I opened my own small interior design studio. It wasn't grand, 2 rooms, white walls, second-hand furniture, but it smelled like freedom. Clients trickled in at first, then more and more. People loved my sense of space, color, and detail. They said my designs felt like healing, gentle yet strong, just like the woman who made them. My company expanded, my work gained recognition, and soon magazines featured my story, the girl who built from ruins. I smiled every time I saw my name printed, not in pride, but in gratitude to the girl who never gave up. And one day, after 4 long years, I stood outside my childhood home, not as the abandoned girlfriend, not as the weak daughter, but as a woman reborn in her own fire. My heart didn't tremble, my voice didn't shake. I had returned not for revenge, but to let them see what grew from the pain they gave me, not thorns, but wings. I stood at the gate of my old home, heart steady, steps confident. It wasn't anger that brought me back, it was closure. I had no desire to break anyone the way they broke me. I only wanted to look into the eyes of those who once called me weak, and let them witness what weakness had grown into. When I entered, conversation stopped. My mother froze mid-sentence, Hania's smile faded, and Ian, the man who once promised me forever, stared as if he was looking at a ghost-turned queen. He stepped forward slowly, disbelief clouding his eyes. "Zara," he whispered, like my name itself hurt. I smiled politely. No trace of the broken girl remained, only a woman carved from her own storms. My presence filled the room more loudly than any confrontation could. My mother blinked rapidly, trying to speak. You look different, strong," I asked gently. Her silence became confession. Hania stood behind, discomfort written across her face. She had married Ian, yes, but not for long. Their marriage cracked under the weight of mistrust and ego. Ian looked thinner, older, tired, like regret had become his pillow every night. He swallowed hard. "I shouldn't have left you." His voice trembled, cracking like glass remembering the hammer. I didn't rush to answer. I let silence sit. The same silence they once gave me, now returned like a mirror. He continued, desperation growing. "I made a mistake. I loved you, Zara. Maybe I still do. Those words used to be my dream. Now they felt like an echo from a life I no longer lived." I looked at him, not with anger, but with clarity. "You loved the idea of me," I said softly, "but when I needed support, you chose convenience." My eyes drifted to my mother briefly. She lowered hers, ashamed. Ian reached out as if to hold my hand. I stepped back not out of hatred but self-respect. I forgive you, I said gently, but forgiveness is not a bridge to return. It's a door I close peacefully. His shoulders fell, defeated. Hania turned away, tears glistening. My mother moved closer, voice trembling. I was wrong about you. No, I replied calmly. You were necessary. Without your doubt, I would have never learned what I'm capable of. I walked toward the exit, head high, heart free. No shouting, no revenge speech, just dignity. That was my revenge. Before leaving, I turned once more. Some losses, I said with a soft smile, are actually wins. And as I stepped outside, a breeze wrapped around me like applause. I realized then, healing wasn't about proving them wrong. It was about becoming someone who no longer needed their validation. I walked away, not broken, but beautifully beyond their reach.